Leeds, biggest property trainer in the UK. We've now come back, and for the last 5 years for me, mentoring Samuel Leeds. Ginny, you've done about 4 years?
3 years, yeah, 3 and a bit years.
Ginny and Jer Grigg are former teachers who boldly left the classroom behind to build an extraordinary life in property investing. They joined the Samuel Leeds Academy in 2018 after attending a £1 crash course, transforming from debt-burdened employees into successful property entrepreneurs, and now seasoned mentors themselves. Today, this dynamic Cornish couple continues to guide Academy members with their hard-learned wisdom on mindset, discipline, community, and turning challenges into opportunities, proving that anyone can escape the 9-to-5 trap and become self-unemployed.
Do what your passion is. Go and do that passion, but make your money work for you.
Hello and welcome to the Self-Unemployed podcast, where we talk about the journey to financial independence and becoming self-unemployed. Today I have come to the house of Ginny and Jer, who are mentors on the Samuel Leeds Academy. Thank you for having me.
Pleasure, thanks for coming all this way.
Thank you for travelling 13 hours to get here.
Wasn't 13 hours. It was a trek, but it wasn't 13 hours.
The story's worth telling, it's worth exaggerating.
Yeah. But as I was saying to you before we were starting recording, you used to do a similar trip for us every month. So it's the least I can do.
Thank you. It became normal, became a normal thing. But welcome to Cornwall, and it's lovely to have somebody. I mean, there's a lot of Academy members down here now, and the Plymouth Inner Circle is our nearest inner circle now. And I think Cornwall will be the next big location.
Yeah. So
we should say first, is that right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. We should say, I guess, because not everyone watching will be on the Academy. What is the Academy and what do you guys do?
Would you like to start? Because I do talk a lot, don't I?
I think you should just carry on now, Jay. You started this.
Okay, so Samuel Leeds, property trainer, biggest property trainer in the UK. We met him in 2018. We did some £1 courses that he offered at the time. And we went on to do his academy, which is a 12-month experience. We've now come back, and for the last 5 years for me, mentoring with Samuel Leeds. Ginny, you've done about 4 years now?
3 years.
4 years?
3 years, yeah, 3 and a bit years.
And it is the academy that we joined in 2018 is an absolute shadow of what it is now. But we got everything we needed back in 2018.
So how many people were on the academy back in your day?
Do you know what? I've got no idea. It was only live events. There was nothing online. There was no extra mentoring outside of these live events. There was no inner circles. There was no rate my deal. There was no deal glance. There was no...
Were there dinners? Monthly dinners?
No.
Really?
It was literally Samuel Leeds on stage with his enthusiasm, his passion.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was a really interesting time for us because obviously we were teaching. And is it possible? Is it possible what this guy is talking about? And 8 years later, yeah, it is possible.
Yeah. So yeah, you mentioned you were teachers. So let's go back, because I think that's a really important journey that you've gone on. You know, from being employees, working sort of 9 to 5, to being self-unemployed. So yeah, tell us a bit about your background. What were you doing before you got into property?
Well, I was a teacher. I started teaching when I was 22, back in 1993. So you can do the maths on that. And that's all I really wanted to do, I guess. I went through school, did A-levels, went to university, did a teaching qualification, got my first job back in Cornwall.
You're a good teacher.
Thanks.
You're a really good teacher.
Thank you.
Well, you still are.
And yeah, and really enjoyed it and did well with my teaching career. I got to an assistant head position in a secondary school, various roles, loved teaching, loved being part of the team. But as time went on, really, it was harder and harder and harder because there was more expectation, more pressure. Ofsted, kids got tougher.
Which isn't teaching, right?
No, exactly. That's outside of what you wanted to do every day. Yeah. And it was harder, and the energy kind of goes. And I think when I started to see that there was a different way, which was through investment, which was something that I'd never ever looked at or considered before. Didn't know anything about property whatsoever. Only the fact that I'd bought a house, lived in it, and that I always thought that property investment was for other people. Didn't think it could apply to me. And then started on this journey, and it was a real eye-opener, and it was a real moment of, one, why does everyone not know this already? And two, this actually could be me. This could be me that's actually making this jump. And yeah, it's been a really exciting transition from one world into another. And I would say that previous life now, the teaching life, feels like a million years ago now. I can hardly imagine it. So yeah, it's been a great, exciting journey.
Yeah.
Our stories are very different. But can I say, hand on heart, you know, we've looked at some of the, we've listened to some of the podcasts you've done. I think this is awesome.
Thank you.
For us, my daughter, right, she's got a maths degree and she loves maths. She's always loved maths. And she said to me, she said, Dad, I don't want to be a business person. Why do you keep banging on about limited companies and property? And, blah, blah, blah. And I've probably pushed a little bit too hard as it goes. Do you think? And you know, she's got a job, or she had her dream job with BP on the Thames, big BP head office, corporate role. She got it within 6 months. She said, Dad, I hate it. I absolutely detest it. And she's working for Brewdog. She's a manager in Brewdog, you know, in Waterloo, and she's learning shed loads of skills with that. And she's now looking for other roles back in maths, which is her passion, but she wants to be an employee. And I've said, yeah, do you know what? That's cool.
That's fine, yeah.
In fact, I think that's awesome. If you've got a job, and when Samuel talks about, you know, on a scale of 1 to 10, where are you on your job? Where a 1 is, get me out of here, to 10 is, man, I wake up every day, I'm living my best life, I'm doing something that I was born to do.
Yeah.
And there's very few 1s, and there's a few 2s, and then as you go up through, the glut is in the middle.
Kind of a bell curve, yeah.
Depending on how honest they really are. And then there's going to be a few, yeah, like the bell and a 10. And you know, I said to Zoe, look, do what your passion is. Go and do that passion. Do you know, but make your money work for you. Do you know, get that money moving so you've got choices when you're further down the line. I know it's difficult to believe. We're in our 50s now, and it's like, we've got choices now that we've created over the last 8 years. 8 years ago, before we met Sam, we were 30,000 in debt. And it is, we spoke before about mindset, and it is about shifting that mindset. Do you know, even though you're an employee, embrace it. That's what it is. The government's going to get their money out of you before you get anything. Do you know, but if you're doing something that you love, why not? Carry on, but make that money work for you.
Something I always used to talk about in the early episodes, I came up with this kind of philosophy of there being kind of 4 phases or 4 stages, with phase 1 being like people who are in debt or with a lot of bad debt, getting on top of that. But then phase 2 being about, you know, still being an employee, but learning to put money, not save, but invest, use things like your ISA and your pension to grow to grow a nest egg. And I think that that's fine for most people. Phase 3, I described as being when you know, you're prepared to take a bit more risk, but you can offset that risk by investing in yourself. But it's a bit, you know, you have to take responsibility for yourself, which is not for everyone. So yeah, I think phase 3 is not really, that's sort of what we're doing, but it's not for everyone.
But back to what Ginny was saying about that institution, that institutionalization, it's a perceived risk, right? There's a perceived risk of, you buy a house to live in, if you buy another one, but what happens? What if that tenant, what if the laws change? What if there's COVID hits again? What if there's a global thermonuclear meltdown? But it's perceived, I think a lot of it is perceived risk. So
if that happens, you adapt. But that's where investing in yourself becomes, and getting into a community like what we have with the Academy. I couldn't imagine doing this on my own. I mean, I started doing it on my own, and if I carried on, I probably would want to be out of it now with the changes that are happening, and that's what a lot of landlords are doing.
Yes, yeah.
There's a massive shift, isn't there? There's a lot of fear in the market.
Yeah, but being part of the academy and helps me to think, to analyze actually what are the changes and see actually it's not that bad.
It's education, right?
Yeah.
And Samuel teaches 4 pillars of success. The first one's knowledge. Do you know? And we all need knowledge.
Yeah.
But also, we don't need knowledge with knowledge. Lots of people say, I need to know everything. No, just stick to your plan, get a plan, and just get that piece of knowledge that's going to move you on with your plan.
Yeah.
Second one is massive action, which a lot of people forget.
Yeah.
They go, okay, I've got the knowledge, make it happen.
The implementation is a completely different ball game, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's where discipline comes in. And we were talking about discipline. But that massive action is important. But the community, in my opinion, humble opinion, is absolutely pivotal.
Yeah.
It's having people around you that have overcome the challenges that you're facing now.
Yeah.
Which you've got that belief then of, oh man, look, that person's done it, that person's done it.
Yeah.
But also having people alongside you that are experiencing the same challenges as you, and almost like accountability buddies. Do you know? And that community of people where it is a can-do community. That comes back to our teaching. Remember, Branwell School, can-do community. Yeah. I think it's so important because so many people, you can't do that. No, you can't do that. No, you're not good enough.
And people that aren't in the business, aren't entrepreneurs, they hear about the rule changes or whatever, and they think, oh, look at this, aren't you worried about this? I hear the market's going to collapse. And I see this in the comments on YouTube and things. But the other thing that I find great about the community is when we get into something like this, we got a vision for the future and where we want to go. But then when you get into it, you get problems, and you sometimes temporarily lose sight of that vision. And coming to an inner circle or any academy event, being in the room with people on that same wavelength helps remind me of that vision and to see past the problems and realize I've just got to take action and I can deal with the problems. And it helps to not get bogged down by things.
Absolutely. But your vision and your why will get you so far because that gives you motivation, right? But it's about the discipline of getting up and putting yourself in the right places over and over and over and over.
Even when you don't want to, or even when you don't feel like it. And that's when you really need to, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I talk a lot as a mentor, we talk to a lot of academy members who go through exactly what you've just described, that dip in motivation, the dip in energy because something's gone wrong or something's just suddenly become very, very hard. But it's about the pushing and you really should be going to the dinner or the inner circle or whatever event it is when you're feeling like this, not hiding away, because that's going to lift you again. And that mindset is so important.
And this isn't just property. This is life.
Yeah, this is life.
Yeah.
This is business.
I've met some of the best friends I'll probably ever have through the academy.
It attracts a very special type of person. And I think people that aren't special, they don't last.
Yeah.
They really don't last.
I keep saying it, but we're not normal people.
Do you know what? I think there's something, we were talking about, you have your why, and the why gets you so far. It gets you through the door. And people say, well, I'm new to property. Yeah, but you're here. You started your journey. What does that mean? You're here. And 90% of success is turning up, getting through that door. And of course, you've got to develop that resilience, which is the 4th pillar of success, which comes from the community. And business, life is challenged. It's full of challenges. And you can have a mindset where you focus on the cup half full, the cup half empty. But with life, having that burning why and your why to come out of teaching, I think, why don't you say your why?
Well, my why is very much to show my children that there is a different way. I mean, they're 24, my son, and 21, my daughter. My son's working a corporate job in London. It's done really well. It's what he wanted to do. He's working in recruitment. My daughter's in Cornwall based. She's working on the events team in a nice hotel down in St Ives and doing really well. And they're both following that employed route at the moment. But I think just showing them that I've come out of teaching, I've taken a bold step, I'm in the world of investment, the world of property. I am self-unemployed, if you like, and that's absolutely fine. That's okay. And it's just showing, modelling that they don't have to go down that corporate route. And like you were saying, getting to that.
But even if they do, like if they have a 10 job that they really enjoy, that they do get purpose from,
yes,
that's fine. But they should still be doing some sort of investing to build a nest egg on the side.
As early as you can.
Yeah, definitely.
As early as you can.
And I'd push mine as well. You talk about you pushing yours. I definitely push mine as well to think about the investment, and it will come. It will come.
There's a brilliant, brilliant book called The Richest Man in Babylon.
I've read it, yeah.
Samuel Leeds looked at our balance sheet when we first got there, and he didn't laugh, but he could have. And he looked at that and he said, guys, you've got to get this under control. And, we had that bad debt, which we were paying a fortune through.
Yeah.
So we were actually falling into the bank's way of making money. And we were at the perfect scenario of employees that were paying monthly on credit cards or whatever it was.
Living paycheck to paycheck, but below zero.
Absolutely. And I think the key to, because my kids will say, yeah, but what do I invest in? Well, that's where you've got to have a pot of money every single month for your knowledge, to invest into yourself. And it might be, I don't know, futures market. It might be a network marketing business. It might be
stocks, crypto,
gold.
Try something, and then learn from it. If it doesn't work, learn it, and then try something else, and then you'll find something that works.
Say something about, if you're buying a bike for your kids, you buy 2 bikes. One for your child for him to ride and one to rent out. I was thinking, but the principle of that. But you need to know what you're doing. And that's where, if you have a pot of money, the compound effect, just a few percent, that's all you need to do. I've heard savers are losers, but you do need some savings. You do need an amount of savings. You need a pot that goes back into your education, a financial freedom pot where you can't spend it on anything else other than something that's going to make money for yourself. Yeah. And the big one is your favourite, wasn't it?
Our play pot, yeah.
Well, we went play and then we called it the rich pot because you have to have something that makes you
enjoy.
Yeah. Yes. If not, what's the point?
Yeah.
That's been harder for you than me, isn't it?
Yeah, sure. bizarrely, and it is. Well, it's not bizarre. I think we're all different. We're all, we have beliefs from the past, limiting beliefs, and one of mine that I'm working on is you've got to work. When actually you've got to have a good work ethic. Yeah. And you've got to have discipline to do the same repetitive tasks sometimes in any business. But actually, life is there to enjoy. It's very short. It's a very short life. And so the play pot or the rich pot, anything that makes you feel special. And then the giving pot. And people say, I couldn't possibly have 5 other pots. I'm spending more than I'm earning now. But it's just the slight
trickle effect.
Trickle effect. Set the pots up. That's the first thing. Set the pots up. Get the principle in action. And you might put £1 in there first. You might put £5 in there. Yeah. And then you start seeing the benefit.
Then and you build the habit.
Yeah.
We'll get back to the interview in a moment, but first, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and give this video a thumbs up and leave a comment. Let us know what you think so that I can keep bringing you more valuable interviews in the future. And more importantly, there's a link in the description to sign up to my newsletter. I don't send a huge amount of emails, only just when I put out a new interview, a new episode, just to let you know there's some more valuable content available. Because YouTube isn't optimized for value. It's optimized to distract you. And I hope that I'm producing content that is valuable, is going to be really helpful to develop that self-unemployed wealth mindset. So use the link in the description to sign up to the newsletter and look forward to seeing you there. But for now, let's get back to the interview. I mean, I used to follow a thing called the FIRE movement. Have you heard of that?
I haven't.
No.
So FIRE stands for Financial Independence, Retire Early. And there's like internet forums and stuff all about this. And basically, this is kind of what I was talking about, phase 2. It's people who they work a normal job, but they want to save and invest, normally into like index funds, until and then that money will, historically, index funds have gone up 10%, 9-10% a year. So if you keep doing that, after a certain amount of time, you'll be that 10% will be more than you're actually earning, and at which point you can retire early. That's the theory. But it involves living very stingily in order to save, in order to invest enough to do that. And then when you do hit that, what they call the crossover point, where you could be drawing enough to live on indefinitely, well, only if you live on that, continue to live on that frugal lifestyle. So, that's why I sort of stopped following that, because there's not really any room to enjoy yourself. Eventually you get free of a job, but you don't have enough to enjoy,
right? So sacrifice versus investment. Do you see it as an investment in the future, or do you see this as a sacrifice right now?
Yeah.
And there is an element of mindset, but also 100%. You've got to enjoy the journey. You've got to enjoy the journey, and I think that's something we've really worked on, because you hit financial freedom. That financial freedom figure, wow. And then all of a sudden you're spending more time going abroad or doing whatever, and your financial freedom figure goes up. So I think,
and if you don't do those things, then you just get bored.
Absolutely.
And so you guys are still working and on your own businesses, and also for the academy.
Yep.
You're probably busier than ever, in a way.
Yes, I think we are, actually, in a different way.
Yeah.
In a different way, because you are doing it for yourself, and we're making our own choices, setting our own timetables, working as flexibly as we can, which is awesome, and being able to dip in and out, do as much or as little as we want to, is really good.
I think last year going to Africa was a real eye-opener for us. And we went with Simon and Tatiana, which are mutual friends of ours. And Simon had been there before, and he was trying to prepare us for what was going out, the charitable work that Samuel does out there. And it doesn't matter what people say, it doesn't prepare you for just a completely different world.
Yeah.
And that's an eye-opener. That's a real eye-opener to get you. Because let's go back to institutionalization. We were big fishes in small ponds, if you like. And I think just getting outside of that group, getting outside of that community, and realizing that there's a whole world out there, full of people doing different things in different worlds. That, we had the joy of speaking to young entrepreneurs in a school where they had absolutely nothing, but they were, I don't know, there was a young lad there who was, breeding chickens, and looking to sell chickens, and how could he increase his marketing? How could he increase the percentage profit on chickens? And it was just wonderful to see this.
There's a lot of chicken farms, aren't there?
Yeah. But I think getting outside of what you know is really important. Whether it's a comfort zone, because a lot of, I used to play a lot of sports, and I love it. But a lot of people from Cornwall are big fish in small ponds. And when they try to go and do it as a full-time job as professionals to follow their dream, it's almost a homesickness. It's almost and actually what it is, it's the fear of getting outside of that comfort zone. Yeah.
Because we are institutionalized and conditioned by our environment and the whole system.
You're contained by it, I think, isn't it? And to break through that barrier is something which requires quite a lot of energy to do that, mental energy, emotional energy.
But let's not knock it. It's a genius system. If you want to set up a business, if that's what you want, you indoctrinate those people or find the right people that will sit in those roles. Without employees, the country was shut down.
Yeah. Have you heard of a guy called Ken Robinson? He's education. I think he used to advise the government and stuff. He's done a couple of TED Talks.
Yep.
And in one of those TED Talks, he talks about how the whole education system was designed to fulfill the need of the Industrial Revolution, where they needed employees in factories.
And we were part of this. We were part
yeah,
of this.
that's why I thought you might have heard of
Ginny
it.
and I. It can be just a.
But that was
two.
a long time ago, and it hasn't. Obviously, things have changed a bit, but it's still kind of the same.
Yep.
And we're not teaching kids about financial literacy.
In Uganda, the same curriculum is out there. We're part of the Commonwealth, and Zimbabwe. Same curriculum, same designed way of, this is what you learn. Somebody else is telling you what you need to learn, their interpretation of history and keeping that control mechanism. And I think it's genius, but once you recognize it, it's very difficult to be part of.
Yeah.
And
genius as in because it fulfills the needs of society and keeps people down in that place that society needs them.
It's a control mechanism.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But not genius in a good way. I mean, in a good way on a level, but not for the individual.
Yep.
No.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it doesn't serve everybody. It doesn't serve everybody. And the thing is, when, say, for example, there's people in a country that moan about the government, but they're not willing to do stuff about it. It is a massive challenge. It is a massive challenge.
Yeah.
But there were certainly people in the schools that I worked in that were entrepreneurial that didn't get what they needed. And there wasn't that support there. You weren't taught about business. You weren't taught about basics.
And quite often those were the kids that didn't conform, found themselves in trouble, found themselves in bother because they wouldn't conform because the education system just didn't suit them.
Yep.
But they've gone on to be really, really successful because they're out of the education system now, and they've flourished and found their flow and their passion, and they're doing very, very well for themselves because they're out of that.
And they realise that they're not stupid like school made them think they were. I mean, I did terribly at school. It seems like everyone I interview for the podcast has a similar story that they didn't do well at school, or maybe they were dyslexic or had ADHD, like Faggy. I did Joseph Newland. He is dyslexic recently. Well, I interviewed him recently. It's so common among entrepreneurs that they didn't fit the system.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's a real tough one, isn't it? I remember kids saying, "Oh, I'm dumb, sir. Or, I'm thick. I'm thick." What makes you say that? And this person Ken Robinson was talking. I think Ken Robinson also said about your genius. He was big on knowing what you're in your flow and knowing what you're.
Yeah, he wrote a book which I read. I can't remember the name of it, which is all about that. Everyone finding their.
You and I are both trying to find the name of this, and I was looking at you to see if you come up with.
The element or something like that.
Oh yeah, in your element.
See,
something like that.
Yeah, your element or the element. Yeah,
something like that, isn't it?
So it's about.
I'll find a picture of the book cover and I'll put it up now.
I love it. And so there was kids that might be fantastic at football.
Yeah,
they're genius. They're genius with being athletic, or they're fantastic artists. I'm going to tell. So I took my lad to every single sporting event you can ever imagine. No, didn't want to know. Do you know, I like to think I encouraged, but I probably pushed. And do you know, it turns out he started doing art, and he's now doing a fine arts degree in Bath. He's finishing last year, and he wants to go and do a master's. And do you know, that's his element. He's in his element when he's doing art, and he can talk about art until. Do you know, we went to one of the museums in Spain, do you know, and he was talking about Van Gogh Museum, I think it was, there was the famous bit of art which has got like a bike seat and two handlebars, and it looks like a steer's head. And he was stood there talking about this handlebars and bike seat, and I was going, seriously? There's handlebars and a bike seat? But that's his genius.
Yeah.
And so many people used to come to PE or whatever and say, "Oh, I'm thick, I can't do this homework, I can't," because they're judged on how many GCSEs they've got, how many or
Well, this is
O-levels back
I
in
think
our
this
day.
is a big part of the problem, is that we tell kids that that's the most important thing for them at that age, which when actually it's really not important.
No.
As soon as they've left school.
It fades, doesn't it? The importance, for sure.
But that whole process, one of my daughters said, I'm going to do a degree now. I said, okay. She'd been traveling around the world. And by the way, I love people that get, your 2 kids have traveled. All 3 of mine have traveled. And I think you get so many life lessons by just getting out there and doing it. But she said, I'm going to do a degree now because I'm falling behind. I said, falling behind what? Well, my friends, they've all started their degree, but
they haven't travelled. So you're ahead.
Yeah.
In another way, if you just look at it a different way. Yeah.
So they're going to get a secure job. They're going to get that's what they were saying. And it's that, but how long do you travel
conditioning?
for?
That is such a strong negative sort of motivator, isn't it? That you believe that you're going to fall behind.
Yeah.
See, I never did well at school. I remember even like early years of primary school being in like the bottom group, and it drummed into me that I was thick, from a really early age. And it wasn't until I always knew deep down that I wasn't, that I was smarter. But it wasn't really till I was 40 or mid-30s maybe, that I really started to realise that I am, smarter than most people. When I had I travelled, I travelled for a few months, ended up spending 7 years in South America, and I was teaching English. And before that, I was a filmmaker. And so then it wasn't long before I started a YouTube channel.
So you got a book in you, haven't you? This has got to go in your book.
Oh yeah, it's going in the book. It's in my talk as well. I'm doing a talk on at the Inner Circle.
Good
so
work.
I'm talking about all
Good
this.
Work.
And yeah, so I started a YouTube channel teaching English, and I sort of specialised in pronunciation, and just accidentally. And I had a comment from one guy. He said, I've done a master's in linguistics, and I've learnt more from your video in the first 2 minutes of your video than I did on my whole degree. And I didn't know this stuff. I just realised that my channel had a demand for it. So I read Wikipedia and put what I'd learned into a video format. And so I think that's what I was good at. That's what I am good at. I'm good at explaining things communicating.
You're in your element.
Yeah, I suppose, yeah.
I think sadly Ken Robinson's passed away
he
now,
has,
but I read that book, and I think it's absolute genius. And he's a proper northern man, if I remember rightly, and he used to put it in a very black and white way. Yeah,
his TED Talks are absolutely brilliant. Everyone should check them out.
Do you know another thing as well in schools, and this is a stereotype, but it's right or it's wrong. It's yes or no, success or failure. And life isn't like that.
No.
And if you look at every successful person, they run towards the challenges. They understand that, all right, I'm going back to business now, but with business, all it is overcoming challenges.
Yeah.
Challenges arise, you come and find a way of overcoming it. And you find a solution. And I think some people that come from employment into business, they're looking for I just want a life free of challenges. Well, you're in the wrong game, because this is what...
The challenges become very different, don't they? I think, and although we've done so much on our mindset about overcoming challenges, there are still days where you feel
it's not.
Where you feel like everything is coming at you, but now having that ability to be able to say, right, we've just got a series of challenges to overcome today, and you work through them, and you get there. But it is different. I mean, in employment, you can walk away from it. It's someone else's problem ultimately, isn't it? But when it's your business, it is down to you. Yeah. But that's good, taking ownership and enjoying that, and enjoying tackling
and having that vision of why you're doing it, and what life could be. I think I've been thinking a lot about mindset recently, and I'm trying to incorporate it more into the podcast. But that I think it's a Greek myth, the guy pushing the rock up a hill.
Yes.
What's his name? Do you remember?
I can't remember. Okay. I'm not going to try.
And it's like that.
Yes.
But I think it's like that, except there's big magnets pulling us in, and the pull of wanting to be comfortable, wanting things easy, are pulling us the wrong way. But having a vision, defining our sort of long-term goals, can help to weaken those things pulling us in the wrong direction and be a pull in the right direction.
Great analogy, yeah.
So yeah, part of what I'm trying to come up with is, ways things I've done to strengthen that positive pull, because I think we can do that by working on our mindset.
For sure.
Mindset's massive.
Yeah.
Samuel talks about reframing all the time, and we have calls, where people go, "Oh my God, it's a nightmare. It's this
doesn't work."
Yes, doesn't, and it's all going wrong. And it's okay. So let's unpick this and have a look. And 99 times out of 100, no, just had a bad day.
Yeah.
And sometimes you'll just walk away with going, "Yeah, that's cool."
Yeah.
Is it?
They lose sight of the vision, but once they get it back,
yeah,
and that's what the Academy is so great for.
Yes, but if you watch every successful person, whether they're athletes, artists, politicians, even politicians, business people, teachers, they run towards those challenges. They run towards the fear, and this is something that's becoming more and more. So we're 8 years in from the Academy now, and it's like you only get things when you get it, and that could take however long. I'll still wake up sometimes and go, "Oh my God, that's what he was talking about." And for me, over the last couple of years, it's about not success and failure, success and learning.
Yes,
success and learning. And every time that it doesn't go right, there's an opportunity. There's an opportunity to learn, to become a better person. If you keep making the same mistakes again, what's the definition of insanity, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Going around and around and around, making the same mistakes and expecting a different outcome.
And when you frame failure when you frame instead of L being for lose, it's for learning. You're not as afraid of it, because it's win-win either way.
Because we've been taught that failure is bad. And,
getting an answer wrong is bad, and you'll fail.
And don't forget, that comes from nursery, because I think in this country we go into the school system earlier than a lot of countries in Europe or around the world. And these are your formative years. These are the years where stuff that's said to you sinks in and creates
good, bad,
patterns.
Right, wrong, pass, fail.
Yeah, and creates patterns for the whole of your future. And unless you want, it's all unpickable. It's all changeable. It's recognizing where that comes from. And there's good and the bad for everything. But successful people, and I do think Richard Branson is an absolute inspiration. I used to read his stuff, listen to what he's doing, and I think he's now in his late 70s now. And he's still, the Virgin brand is out there. Yeah. But he used to run towards those fear. And if you look at his upbringing, there was people in his life, influential people in his life, that would set him challenges. If you want to do this, let's do this.
I think in one of his books he talks about his mum used to kick him out of the car miles from home and tell him to walk. Tell him to walk when he was like 4 years old.
Yeah, and I'm not advocating this, but I think he wanted to learn to swim, so his gran said, "Oh look, if you can swim across the lake, there's a fiver." I'm not advocating that, but I think that's a good example as well. People have knockbacks. They have knockbacks, and it's how you consider that. It's a learning opportunity or not. And coming from a sporting background, you've got to have that discipline as well. And we were talking about the boxing earlier. I'm not a boxer, but I fought twice on two white collar events. And one of the biggest learnings from that is just the repetitive. You just got to keep putting yourself in the right places. Waking up early, we were talking about this morning, weren't we? Quite tough to get up this morning, and I haven't done a 4 o'clock club. This was like 6 o'clock, and to get up knowing, I could sit, I could lie here for another hour or so. If you
Well, it's that the comfort pull that I was talking about.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
absolutely, and yeah, you could, but your mind's won. Your mind's won that first battle of the day if you do.
But you see, this is what I'm saying is it's like if you develop that vision and that, of what you could be and why, it makes it much easier. Whereas if you've just have a 9 to 5 and you've lost sight of that, you're just living for the weekend. It's really hard to get rid of that.
I think that's a bit of an excuse, because I think there are some employees and they stand out a mile, and I'm thinking of teachers, and not just head teachers, but there were very, very good teachers that maybe they had a morning routine. Maybe they woke up first thing before anybody else and they prayed or meditated or visualized where they wanted to go. And maybe they were in that job that they absolutely loved and they wanted to be a head teacher. So that's maybe a vision. But there were certain people I remember in education that stood out because they worked on themselves. They actually invested in themselves, and they had a very clear vision of where they wanted to go. I remember other teachers that didn't have that vision, that were doing the 9 to 5 and working for the weekend, that were grumbling about these people because they were just different. What were we saying the other day? It's, sometimes people you take it as a criticism and they'll say, you've changed. Whereas actually, they're just not able to say you've grown and you've shifted and you've moved and you've invested
change
in
isn't
yourself.
bad. It's a good thing.
But they feel threatened by it because maybe...
Because they haven't.
Yes. Exactly.
And they don't want to.
Yes.
Because they just want the comfort.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Do you know, I mentioned to you about a network marketing business that I set up about 15 years ago, or got involved with. And, the guy from there, who I'm really good friends with to this day, and Tom Marshall, ex-military, very, very. And when he came out of the military, he picked up on this opportunity, and it was, okay, I'm going over there. You guys are all with me. You can either come with me, or I'm going to go through you, because that's going to happen. And over the next 10 years of personal development, he realized that that's not the way of building a team. Because network marketing is classic. Robert Kiyosaki talks about it in Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And all of a sudden it came to Cornwall. And I just thought, never heard of this. And lots of people were saying, it's that pyramid scheme from the 1970s. That's pyramid scheme. And watching this guy evolve from this, he was inspirational because he was strong, fit, and had obviously represented his country, in all sorts of places that I'd be terrified to. I've never come close to the military. Too big a target for a start, I think. But he developed, and he said to me one day, Jay, you got to start reading. And this was before I met Samuel. And I said, why? And he said, because you've got to start developing yourself. And he said, and because I respected him, I listened to him. And that was like a sliding doors moment, or a changing moment, a pivotal moment. And I remember saying, go on then, what? And he gave me Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Really?
And I still to this day think.
Amazing how many people say reading that book was a sliding doors moment. I read it and it inspired me, but I didn't really take action for another 15 years.
Doesn't matter though, does it?
No.
Doesn't matter because
it was the seeds were there. Probably, they just took a long time to germinate. Yeah.
And everybody's journey is different.
Yeah.
You only get it when you get it. And that's a classic moment. I heard Samuel Leeds talk about the pots on stage, and he, open and honestly, said, I heard it. He said, that's brilliant. I'm going to implement that, and did nothing about it. And he went to the same course 3 years running. It wasn't until the third year that he started to implement that. It doesn't matter. The seed has been sown. And
sometimes you do need to hear things 3, 4, 5, 6 times.
For it to make sense. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And that Rich Dad, Poor Dad was like, that had such a profound effect on me. It was like...
It does change the way you think about money.
Yeah. And also I think the community that you're in. So my
Yeah.
dad was a policeman, and my grandfather was a policeman, and my great-grandfather was a policeman. So I didn't want to do night shift. So I became a teacher because that was the next, I guess.
Similar thing.
Yeah. Or what's it called? It's almost like a socially acceptable role of the community. And after 20 years, I was in teaching, 30,000 in debt, and thinking, if people really knew what was going on here, and actually starting to read and realizing that there's a community of people out there that are into property, for example.
But you start to attract those people, don't you? And you suddenly find you can be having random conversations with people that you've met for the first time, and there's something that they're either in property or they're in investment or they're doing something with mindset. And it's like, wow, how have you come into my life at this minute in time? And you'd gradually build that community of people around you. And it's awesome. It is awesome.
But focusing on what you said about mindset, so I left teaching, to follow my dream's always been property. Ginny's hasn't. Like you said, your only new property is a house that you live in. But for me, I've always been fascinated. I can't explain it. It's like a tangible asset. You can rub your hands against a property. That sounds weird, but you know what I mean? It's something that's just real. And I've just loved the whole thing. So I left without any science and bought a tipper van, JV with I didn't know what a JV was at the time, but I was JV
joint
with
venture
the builder.
for those who don't know.
Thank you. And worked with the builder, and we developed some flats in Bodmin, just down the road. And we went on to do some more. And somebody said to me, it was a solicitor that I'd grown up with. He said, "Jer, just steady on. There's something around the corner." This was 2006, 2007. Right, He said, "Steady on. Are you sure you want to do?" And we bought quite a big property that we were flipping. I didn't know what a flip was at the time, but it's a flip now.
Well, that's what everyone was doing back then, wasn't it?
Yep, absolutely.
There were TV shows about it.
Yes, yeah.
Well, still are.
In this country and around the world. But we got caught holding the baby, basically. And it was our biggest project. And oh my word, when the bottom fell out of the market in 2008, I could just feel this horrific feeling of, oh my word, I've got this one badly wrong. And everyone around me, and I know that they love me and they had the best intentions, but they were saying, told you you weren't a property investor. Told you you're a teacher. You need to go back and do the responsible thing and go back to teaching. And I did. And I wasn't strong enough to say, no, this is actually
just
the
a
best
challenge that I can get over.
Yeah. And actually the best time in the last 95 years to buy property at ridiculously discounted prices. And if I'd had that commute, well, who knows what would have happened. But because I wasn't strong enough to go, I went back to teaching. And that was the start of quite a dark time, just because I'd lived this dream life for 4 or 5 years and then went back to teaching. And I loved elements of teaching. Absolutely loved it. Loved working with the kids, seeing people progress. But now we've got the best of both worlds. So I think if I'm going to pick one thing up out of that whole discussion that we've just had, it's about finding that community. Don't think you have to do this on your own. Your mind will control you. Your mind will protect you. Your mind will defend you. There of course have got to be a leap of faith. Eventually, if you want to come out of your job and follow your dream, whatever it is, your element, and you're in there. But actually find the community first of all. Find people that have gone through this. Speak to people that have done this. Really work out your finances. We sat down and we looked at our finances, and I'll take the rap for it if you want. Our finances weren't very good. And once we started to manage that, we realised that you could be spending lots of stuff. I speak to Academy members about overheads. How much is your overheads? Well, I'm bringing in. No. Well, it doesn't matter what you're bringing in.
What do you need?
Yeah. What do you really need? well, I'm not going to cut that because, I'm not going to cut my Netflix. I'm not going to cut my Amazon Prime. I'm not going to cut my, okay. But
that's part of what, the other part of the phase one that I was talking about earlier is like, have you got any subscriptions and stuff that you don't really need? Do you really need Disney Plus and Netflix? Can't you do one for a couple of months and then the other rather than having them both at the same time? Because you can't watch them both at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's so true, isn't it? We just live in this world now of feeling like you have to have access to everything. You're going to miss out. And you're right, you don't have time to watch lots of channels at once or anything else. And it's about streamlining, I guess, isn't it? And really live into the minimum that you can, so you can use the rest of your money to invest, to live, to save, to whatever you want to do.
Or create, if that's what you want to do, you just want to have loads of TV channels, awesome. Find an asset that's going to create you enough money that you can spend on that, rather than trading your time for money.
But I kind of think that once you start to do that, you'll have less interest in that, because that's part of the comfort factor. That we want to move beyond. If we really want to get into phase 3 and work on ourselves and take more risks and achieve more and have a bigger impact, then we lose interest in those comfort things.
Absolutely. And I think the point, I was listening to Jim Rohn this morning, and he was saying one of the biggest excuses that people make about doing, I haven't got enough time. I remember the network marketing, speaking to people, I haven't got enough time. And then if they did an audit on time, which we've done with our business and the people in our business, and you think sometimes, they're spending 3 hours a night watching TV. And I know that's what you were suggesting, but there's got to be a balance as well.
You need some downtime.
Yeah,
but
absolutely. But not 3 hours a night, because if you work out 3 hours a night, 21 hours in a week, and do that over a year.
It's a lot.
Did you notice I bottled that calculation? I should know it. But it's a lot of time, isn't it?
It is a lot of time.
Yeah.
And
it'll be about a month.
Yes, exactly. So I think community is massive, and really working out your vision, not just your vision of where you want to get to, but the type of person that you want to be. And that was a big one, because I used to hear that all the time. Success is the
your
person
purpose.
Well, I think if you look at where you want to be, and it might be super simple, I want a nice big house, or I want a nice car, or I want to go on 3 holidays a year, or I want to put my kids through. Okay, but to be able to do that, how are you going to afford it? Not I can't afford it. How are you going to afford it? And also, what type of person do you need to become to be able to bring in and attract that money, that income that you need going forwards? And I think that was something that we've really looked at. And people face fears of going up on stage. Do you know? And in teaching, you're on stage all the time.
Yeah.
But part of it for me, and there was always a fear. There was a fear going on stage, but I loved it. Once I got up there and got going, that's something that I've genuinely loved doing.
Yeah, and because I did a bit of teaching, and before that had a YouTube channel, and then another YouTube channel after I started teaching. Yeah, I'm quite lucky that I'm quite used to being on camera, kind of used to public speaking. Well, I got out unused to it, but I'm doing it again now, and I've done the first of, I've got 12 talks booked in, and I've done the first one, and I enjoyed it so much, and I learned so much about myself by telling my story, that the next talk is going to be even better, and the one after that will be even better. I think part of the reason people get so nervous about it is because they want it to be perfect first time.
Yeah.
They know in their mind how good it could be, or how good they want it to be, but they don't feel like they can deliver on that, so they don't want to do it. But you kind of have to accept that it could be better, but doing it is what will teach you how to make it better in the future.
Well, this is all tied in with the type of person that you want to become. And we've looked at things. Samuel talks about limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
And there are beliefs that you've had going right the way back to primary school, your formative years. Yeah, and you know, I was always fascinated by what's a limiting belief, and you know, these are the things that are programmed into your subconscious, and
That we tell ourselves,
Yeah.
I'm not good at this.
yeah, and 95% apparently, and I'm not a scientist, but 95% of the decisions that you make in everyday life are subconsciously decided. You think you're deciding them, but you're not. It's the programming that you've had from your limiting belief.
Yeah.
And you know, only 5% of stuff is really you doing this. And one of mine from and there's ways of working out what those limiting beliefs are.
And then reprogramming yourself,
Absolutely. And people like Joe Dispenza, you know, I don't know if you've heard about, you know, but he's one of, you know, several people that are prolific on YouTube about.
Yeah, he does like NLP and is he the guy who does a lot of like videos to listen to while you're asleep?
Yeah.
Subconsciously, I've got a funny, I think someone shared me one of his videos. And I don't know if there's anything in this or not, but it was a video that's supposed to make you lucky, I think. And I'm not sure I believe all that. But the next day, I got a call from Leia about the Dubai trip, and I had to pay £800 to do the Dubai trip. And I was like, oh no. But I had the money, so I paid it. And then that afternoon, I'd messaged my solicitor about expediting the land registry thing. And he messaged me back saying, yeah, that's all done. Oh, and by the way, we owe you £800. Here's a refund. It's like, on exactly the same day, I had to pay out £800 unexpectedly. So
and that could be a complete fluke, couldn't it?
Could be. Yeah, it probably is. But I listened to it again the next night and nothing happened the next day. So, but I don't know.
Well, it's everyone's different beliefs. It doesn't really matter what you believe, does it?
No.
You know, for us, we've got lots of other stories which are very, very similar to that. And
but what we tell ourselves is an important thing.
Yep.
So when you were coming to the end of your teaching career,
Yes.
Did you notice that you were speaking to yourself differently, or was there different things you told yourself?
I think for me, there was almost a feeling of disbelief that I, teacher for 28 years or however long I'd been teaching for, that was so much of my identity and who I was and what I did and how people saw me, that there was quite a lot of imposter syndrome at that time. It was almost, am I really coming out of this world into this? But I had so much sort of faith in the process, if you like, and it was almost I've got to do this. I need to do this to prove to myself that I can actually do something completely different. That it became easy in the end, and I think once I decided that that's what I was going to do, and I was similar to you. I'd handed my notice in just before COVID hit, so I could leave that summer, the summer of 2020. I handed my notice in because you have to give about half a term's notice or a term's notice.
Yeah.
So I'd given my notice.
we were deal sourcing at that time.
Yeah, we were.
And for people who don't know, we've found property deals. We knew they were great deals. We packaged and sold them. But you were teaching.
Yeah, so I was teaching full time still. So, and we were at that place where we had to make a decision really about whether I was either going to go back into teaching full time, full hearted, and just get on with it and stop moaning about it, or come out and do the property.
Yeah.
And we'd made the decision that I wanted to come out, wanted to do the property, handed my notice in. A week later, schools had closed because of COVID. So, and then the head phoned me a week later and said, please, can you retract your resignation because we don't know what's happening in the world. We're going to need you probably. I'm not going to have time to find a replacement. And at that point, it was a fear thing on my part because it was we don't know what's going to happen in the world here. We don't know if our business is going to be successful. It was a real unknown. So I went back into teaching that September and got stuck there for another 2 years before I eventually...
All through the lockdowns.
All through the lockdowns and everything else. And then handed my notice in again, left. and didn't look back. I didn't miss it for a single second.
And I'd been full-time since 2018. I'd just left teaching. And that's where running your finances as a business was so important, that we knew if we stripped back literally to the bone our expenditure every month, we could just live on Ginny's wages. And I think the incentive was, if I sold a deal, I didn't have to do a week's supply teaching the next month. That was a really big incentive, Colin, for me.
So you sold a deal each month.
Yeah, and it kind of worked. But the bit you don't tell, because I was in it full time, I'd escaped, and for the second time, so I'd escaped this institution, which makes it sound horrible. We work with some amazing people, that do amazing things.
It's something that Dr. Minho Lee said about being a doctor, is that he loved the work, or he loved the work, but he hated the job. And it's, obviously as a doctor, working on people's health, making them better, that's brilliant.
Yes.
But dealing with all the admin and all that sort of thing. And it's the same with being a teacher, I suppose.
Yes.
Yeah.
The system.
So I was desperate for Ginny to come out and support in the business. And she worked full time in teaching, when she was amazing. She did all the compliance. She used to put all the deal packs together. I used to chase around the country almost blindly. No, yeah. So everything, when people think, you're a property mentor, you know everything and you've always known everything. No, we didn't. No, we started exactly where you were, which I think probably makes us better mentors, because we can remember that actual feeling. Of, everybody else is doing really well and we're not, and come on. And I was desperate for Ginny to come out, and then she said she would, and I was going, yes. And then the head teacher phoned up, and it was like she was choosing him over. No, it was more like, come on. And
because you'd already had that experience of
going back,
yeah,
and so you must have known what.
Yeah, I guess.
But we look
probably
back
wasn't that grown up,
and
actually.
Everything has happened at the right time for us. And I think that's how we look at it, is that everything happens at the right time. You are where you are meant to be. That's one of our big mantras at the moment, because it is so true.
Trust the process.
You always think, we haven't done as much as we wanted to. We haven't grown the business as much as we wanted to. We haven't taken on as many properties as we wanted to, and all of these things. But actually, we are learning that we are where we are meant to be. And it's a good place to be. And it's never a finished thing, is it? I think people, like you were saying about mentees, sometimes they look at you as if you've got all the answers, that you know everything. No, we're still having the same struggles as everybody else. We have moments of doubt, of insecurity, of imposter syndrome, of failure, all these things, but we're just getting better and better and better at developing the tools
to overcome
it, and knowing that just because you may have slipped back on something, that you setting goals, for example, or reviews and things that we try and do as routines, it doesn't always work. 8 times out of 10 it does. But we know if we stop doing these things, which we are teaching other people all the time to do, we just get back on it again, and it's just about being able to pick up again.
What's your expression? You can fall off the wagon.
Yeah.
And it can roll away a little bit.
Yeah.
As long as you can see it, you can always get back to it and jump on it again. But you were talking about the mindset of, and that was a massive shift. So Rich Dad, Poor Dad was, I forget but I started reading regularly then. And I actually did an online training.
It's a great book because it's not a great book. Like its message is great.
Yeah.
But it's quite repetitive in a way. So it drums in the same message over and over again. It's never going to win literature awards, because it's not that. But it's very easy to read, and it drums in the message, which is really important, over and over again.
Absolutely. And it's not all about Robert Kiyosaki. There's so many great authors out there that have written, that have read all sorts of influential books. But that's the one that started me going, oh my word, I've got to start reading. Tom was right. I've got to start reading. And I read Samuel's book, Buy Low, Rent High, and I couldn't get that out of my head. So in Cornwall, house prices, I don't know, an average house price down here, maybe £250,000. And he was talking about places you could buy a house for £60,000. And I just couldn't get that out of my head.
Yeah.
So
we were very blinkered by our immediate surroundings.
Yes. Yeah.
absolutely. So I considered it a worthwhile investment to travel from here to Burnley, to here to Blackburn, to here to Birmingham, to here to Hull, here to Rotherham, and it was part of this kind of midlife transition of just getting. I should have bought a Harley Davidson and driven up there. I didn't. I bought a Skoda, and I jumped. And the thing, I don't regret any of that because I had amazing experiences. I met amazing people. I went to amazing places. All those places that I've told you, there's good and bad everywhere, and you start to realise that. And there are houses out there for £60,000, £70,000.
Even less?
Yes.
I bought
absolutely.
a house in Hartlepool for £30,000. It needed another £27,000 spent on it to bring it up back, but
Yeah.
you know,
So you got a house for £57,000 plus your
plus legals and
bill of legals.
and I actually I bought it from a sourcer, so that was and they project managed it, so it was more like 70,000 all in. But
But good deal.
yeah,
The biggest learning from me was because that was a 7-hour trip, or if you had bad traffic, it might be an 8 or 9 hour trip. And do you know, that was an opportunity to stick an audiobook on.
yeah,
And I listened to a lot of audiobooks, and it is about expanding your mind, and especially once you've come from an institution, do you know, which sounds awful, absolutely awful, but do you know, unless you choose to expand your mind, and I think that's one of the biggest things, spend every day, do you know, just for a few minutes, get into you said about habits earlier, get into a habit of putting something in your mind that stimulates, that challenges your mind, that gets you thinking. Do you know, you don't have to go along with it. It's just, okay, get a philosophy. Jim Rohn talks about philosophies on things.
start questioning.
Exactly.
Because then you question your own presuppositions.
Yeah.
And that,
So, and when you start to make decisions, then you think, do I really think that? Or is that something that's programmed in me? That's something from the past that I think, oof.
I think it's important to have the ability to change our mind on things. And a lot of people, they have very deeply held beliefs that they're just not willing to question.
Yeah. So the first step is openness.
Yeah.
Being open to somebody else's point of view.
Yes.
And you can see when people aren't. They're looking for the next thing to say rather than really listening to what.
And often it's not their own opinion. It's an opinion that they've adopted from someone else.
Yeah.
This is like so much of the criticism that Samuel gets online, like in the comments and stuff on some of my videos. And I'm just say, like, you know, where are you getting that from? Are you getting it from actually going to a crash course, actually experiencing what Samuel's about firsthand, or are you just adopting what someone else
else has said?
Yeah. It's like so many people just don't actually have their own opinion. They're just someone's given them their opinion.
I am so proud to be part of the Samuel Leeds group.
Me too.
To watch. Yeah, and I know. And sometimes I say to people, hey, look, I'm biased. And they go, what? I'm biased. He's given us everything. No, he's given us the opportunities that we've taken.
Yeah.
And has been there and has supported. You only get it when you get it. I remember him saying, you take one step, I'll take 5, or I'll take 10, or I'll support you. And it's been exactly that way. Exactly that way. And I think watching him when he's gone through his challenges, because people look at him and think, he's got a team of 70 people now. He hasn't got any challenges. They do it all for him. If you've got a team of 70 people, that's his own set of challenges on his own. And the fact that he is now with the haters, somebody said to me, well, if you want to be successful, you're going to have haters. In fact, if you haven't got haters, you're not successful. And it took me a long time to get that one. But the fact that now he's calling these guys out and saying, look, I don't know, he'll either box them or debate them. But the fact you get into a room live, and I take my hat off to some of these guys, these haters now as well, because they put themselves out there and they'll go in and debate live. And I think, brilliant.
That's a very small percentage of them, though, but yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
But, you know, I was aware of Samuel for a long time. I think I first heard about him when he was doing the Training Kings, but I was living abroad at the time, because I remember he did a TV show where he switched places with one of his tenants, and that was before the academy. I remember when that was on, and I was like, oh, it's that guy. So I knew about him even before that. But it took me a decade to go to a crash course, and because I didn't, you know, I was like the kind of people I was criticizing a minute ago. I had been given an opinion and I went with it. And when I joined the academy, or when I went to a crash course, you know, I started to realize how wrong I was.
Yes,
and I got the opportunity to interview Samuel. When I told him I was going to do a podcast, he said, oh, come on. And he was super enthusiastic. And I wanted to kind of talk about the hate and stuff and the reasons. But I think part of what's driven me to do the podcast is, in a way, guilt for thinking that for going along and being that kind of person and trying to atone for it by, you know,
That's really
by
interesting.
putting out the truth.
Yeah.
As much as I can, which is because so many people believe the lie, and I was one of them. So, yeah.
One of the big things we've come to terms with, there's things in my life that I would have done differently if I'd had hindsight, if I'd known what I do now. But you can't, so why regret things? And I kind of get that. And I know this isn't just about Samuel Leeds, but Samuel Leeds is a very, very inspirational person, because when you go to crash courses, when you see live events, when you go to Wembley and watch him with Jordan Belfort, for heaven's sake, I had to pinch myself when I was in that room.
Yeah.
That's Jordan Belfort.
It was very
We're
surreal,
at Wembley
wasn't it?
Stadium.
Yeah, it was
Awesome. Wall Street.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
But that's his vision. That's his spark. That's his special. And if he looks back, and what does a very wise person say? Only look back to see how far you've come. When he was doing a pin event in Newcastle with 3 people, and he just travelled 6 hours to get up to Newcastle, but it's that repetition. Yeah. It's that putting himself in the same. I went to a networking event in Cornwall, and she said, "Oh, do you know what do you do?" I said, "I'm a mentor with Samuel Leeds." She said, "Samuel Leeds, he came down to Plymouth, the Novotel Hotel." And I messaged Samuel and said, "Did you come down to Plymouth?" He went, "Yeah." He sent the booking form through. He said, "Look, that was 15 years ago." And it's that 15 years of over and over and over. You mentioned, Colin, about this £800 that turned up. And you know, I don't believe in coincidence anymore. And you know, my analogy to that is, so I'd finished this Rich Dad Poor Dad back in whenever it was, and you know, people say, oh, I don't read. I'm not a reader. What? Not a reader. You know, we can all read. You know, you just chosen not to read at this point. You haven't found the right thing to read, maybe. But I went on to Amazon because I used to listen to a lot of audiobooks.
Yeah. And
as soon as Rich Dad Poor Dad finished, the next recommendation, Samuel Leeds, Buy Low, Rent High. Now, it could be the algorithm. In fact, I know it is the algorithm. But and I had to seize that opportunity because I read the book, signed up for the crash course, and I was in the funnel. But I don't believe in coincidences. These things happen for a reason, and you can almost, the sliding door moments. And yeah, for us, it's not just financial freedom. Do you know, we talk about emotional freedom. Do you know, the fact that you need money to enjoy, we mentioned earlier on, but actually, do you know, how your mind works and how you live your life is pivotal to, I think what I'm trying to say, when I started, it was all about work.
Yeah.
I'm going to get this line. And I used to listen to people like David Goggins. David Goggins, absolutely inspirational story. And he would get to where he's going, whatever, and he's a big one for breaking down your mind and getting the self-discipline. And I needed a bit of that. But also I listened to another book that was talking about balance. And then there was bits about, inspirational stories from SAS soldiers, for example.
I just saw on your bookshelf Ant Middleton's book.
Yeah. And a lot of those people that have taken things to extremes, you can learn a lot from. But there's a balance as well. And Ginny brings balance to us, because I tend to be more extreme, if you don't mind me saying. And I think balance is, okay, you can be a very, very successful business person, but if you've got that drive, when is enough enough? And I'm not...
Well, it also becomes not about the money. It becomes about the challenge. You enjoy the challenge.
And we set goals, and going back to the success is the person that you become. And you mentioned manifesting early on, and I'm a really big person, or I'm a big believer in
You're
having...
a big person too.
Thank you. Yeah. But having that visualization of where you want to go.
Yeah.
And there's a really clear difference, right, between living the life that you have got here as though you've already achieved it, to fake it till you make it. There's two really, and I see them as very clear differences.
Yeah.
Fake it till you make it is somebody hiring a Lamborghini, doing a load of social media stuff, and then going back to his Skoda, the next day. And
putting out something that's fake.
Yeah, absolutely.
But having the belief that you're already, that you're already destined. Yeah.
It's about the feelings, I think, isn't it? And you're feeling like you will feel when you actually have achieved all of those things, and learning to feel that the healthy, wealthy, whatever you want to be, whatever it is that you're aspiring to be.
I'm really aware that
feelings.
Half your audience might have switched off now and gone, whoa, hang on a minute, he's going woo-woo, what are they talking about? And I think it's another classic of...
It's about being open, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, and going back to that openness.
But when it comes to manifesting, though, I don't think you need to believe in the woo-woo. There is a lot of woo-woo out there about it, but it could be just psychological, I mean, maybe it was just coincidence, my experience a few days ago. But normally just the idea of like doing a vision board helps you to develop that pull factor and diminish the other pull factors, the negative pull factors. And it could be just psychological. I don't know. And I don't think we need to know.
Have you read Think and Grow Rich?
Yes. And Rhonda Byrne's The Secret. And they talk about sending energy out into the universe and the universe sending energy back. Maybe, I don't know, that's a bit of a stretch to me, because it is a kind of pseudoscience. I'm not saying I don't believe it. I'm saying it doesn't matter whether you believe it or not, because even if you don't believe it, it could be just psychological and it still works. And that's the important thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Placebo, kind of.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's a bit different to placebo, because a placebo doesn't actually have an effect on you.
You just believe it does.
You just believe it does. Whereas this, I don't know, we are talking about a psychological thing, which does have an effect. But
Similar.
Yeah.
I think that's been a really important part of our journey. And, if you look at people with a very strong Christian faith or a belief in whatever, or a belief in the universe, they've almost got a contentment about themselves. And, I used to say to Ginny, the kids that really stood out in school are the ones that didn't need to be part of that group. They didn't need to be part of that group. They didn't need to be part of this group. They were happy just being on their own if they wanted.
Yeah.
But tomorrow they might go with that group. And the next day, and they wouldn't be criticised for it. And those people, I think, have got a very They're grounded in themselves. They've just got a confidence.
And not in wanting to fit in.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah.
And they're not the ones that go into a room or a networking event and you can hear them all over the place. They're just people that are confident. They come around. They're civil. Do you know? And I learned a lot from that and how people conduct themselves.
Yeah.
But going back to that contentedness, do you know, especially people with a Christian faith, and I don't, but I've got more of it's been a bit more of a spiritual trip. And do you know, with the woo-woo, I can do the woo-woo. You know, I don't need to have a scientific, where I think you've got more of a scientific.
Well, I grew up in a very Christian household, and I was very much practicing Christian until about the age of 40, when I started questioning things. I haven't given up on it completely. I went to church last week with Sue and Tiffany from the Academy. And but yes, I am now more questioning. But the thing, a lot of people who are very religious, when they start to hear something like manifesting, they'll jump to the conclusion that it's demonic or something because it's slightly spiritual, but not the spirituality they believe. Same with like hypnosis and things. People are very quick to say that's evil. But then I'd like to ask them, well, okay, tell me something else about it. And they'll be like, oh, I don't know. I don't want to know. But the only one thing they can say about it is that it's evil. So actually what they're just saying is, I don't understand that. Therefore, you know, I want to give it that label.
I think and I'm saying we, do you know, we're very different people, but for us, my understanding is, do you know, we have a vision of where we want to go. Do you know, over the next 5 years, we'll know where we want to go. First of all, lifestyle. We'll look at what our lifestyle looks like, and do you know, the relationships in the family, do you know, the home that we're living in, our travel, the adventure, because the lifestyle for us is why we're doing this. And then we'll look at how the business needs to be to afford that lifestyle. And it doesn't have to be just financial, but it might be, okay, creating more time for ourselves.
But you're essentially creating a vision of the future and then reverse engineering it.
Yep.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And this is what I'm trying to write about at the moment. Because that's creating that pull factor.
Yep.
Yes.
And
absolutely.
Yeah. And
not only spending time each day envisioning that, whether it's the home that you're living in, whether it's the trips that you're going on, the adventures you're having, looking at Africa. You know, for us, it's very important to give back in some way, and it may or may not be Africa, but seeing that was just like, wow. But it's also about almost smelling the smells, the feelings of what it would be like to live that life. And
it again strengthens the pull factors.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And do you know, everyone's got their own take on it, do you know, and ours is still developing. But having that openness that we keep coming back to has really shifted us and brought us this far. And I know it will take us to wherever we're meant to go. But I think certainly in business, I go back to Samuel's visualization. Do you know, that having clarity every single day of what this looks like, what this feels like, and having those moments. Sports people have been doing it for years.
Yeah.
Do you know, Muhammad Ali, I am the greatest. I used to think, what an arrogant tosser. Do you know what? Do you know, I just couldn't get it. But all he was saying was, I am the best version of me at that time, and do you know, I am going to become. And he just complete visualization. Conor McGregor. Do you know, I can't believe I said Muhammad Ali and Conor McGregor, but do you know, both exceptional at what they do.
So you had a fight recently. What was your mindset going into that? Did you think you were the greatest? Were you? Because
do you know, I certainly went into a place where, do you know, I could meditate on, and I could hear Russell's voice saying, "The winner is Jeremy Grigg," and there were certain things that I focused on that. And, you know, you and I both fought on the same card, and I can hardly remember. I had to watch it back repeatedly to get an idea of what had gone on, because you're almost in a trance, a zone.
Yeah,
You know,
totally.
it's muscle memory.
But I remember I worked on my mindset a lot going into that. I trained hard, but throughout the whole, 4 or 5 months I was training, I believed I would win. It was not an option to lose. And because I think on the night I didn't feel nervous at all, which is strange to me now, because if the fight was tonight, I would be nervous because I haven't done that mental preparation. And
I was nervous. I was really nervous. Yeah, absolutely. And I played sport for 30 odd years, to contact sports, and it's very different going up one-on-one. And
especially with someone you like, care about. I trained with Nathan a little bit beforehand, and I'm also one of his clients. He's been on the show, so I have to confess, on the night I was Team Nathan, but
I totally get it. I totally get it, Colin. Yeah, he's a really decent lad, and we shared a beer afterwards, and and that opportunity to go through that fear factor, of putting yourself out there in front of 1,000 people, and back of your mind, I don't want to be put on my arse here, but to go through that is just fantastic. I did a bungee jump before, out in Africa, and Ginny was saying, "Are you all right?" And I was quiet the whole morning.
Oh, because you were nervous.
I can sit and you can put a camera on me and I'll chat for however long. But that morning, I just went totally inside, and I wasn't consciously aware of it until Ginny said. But until I had it done, and then, okay, let's get on with the rest of the day. But and that's something that's, is facing that fear.
It's working out how you're going to deal with those fears, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because I will be quiet if we're going to do a talk somewhere or a presentation, and even though I've been a teacher for a long time, and people will say, "Oh, that's second nature to you." It's not second nature, because you still have to prepare for it. I will go quiet and not want to talk about it, and you'll want to be talking about it, planning it, and I just need to sit, process, work out how I'm going to deal with it, and just to deal with that nervousness really before you can. And I know it will be absolutely fine. I know it will be great. I know, and of course there will always be room for improvement, but it's just dealing with those emotions and pushing yourself out of that comfort zone.
Yeah, I think one of the ways that I've dealt with it, and when I'm doing talks and things, to a certain extent, things like nervousness and stress are a choice. We can just choose not to be in a funny kind of way, or we can train ourselves to.
Or I think you train yourself to recognise it's just a feeling, and that it's part of the preparation process.
And maybe through the process of facing some fears, you and coming through the other side and realising the benefit.
Yes.
You can then see the other side when you're facing another fear.
Yeah.
And then that gives you another choice to look forward to the excitement and the benefit.
The benefit of it.
Yeah.
Which takes you back, all the way back to teaching and coming out of teaching. So I did it twice and Ginny did it once. But it's going through a process of, you've got to have the belief in here. And where do you get the belief from? A community of people that have already done that. Yeah. I guess we'd started selling deals before you came out, so you knew how
the model was proven. We would be okay.
But there's still that bit where you stood on the end of the bungee jump and you've got to go and see the head teacher and put your notice in. And because of that institutionalization, it's like, oh my God, that's so final. That's so final.
Just talking about coincidences or not coincidences, we were desperately waiting for a mortgage approval to come through, weren't we, on one property that we were buying at the time. And I had to give my notice literally, it was all happening together. It's like, if I give my notice, that means that might affect our mortgage application, because obviously my salary wouldn't get taken into account. But if I don't give my notice, I'm going to have to stay for another term.
Yeah.
So it was this real kind of 2 or 3 days of real angst. And in the end, you just give the notice. I literally went to the head teacher's office, gave my envelope over, came back, text from the mortgage company saying your mortgage has gone through. And it was...
That's a coincidence, that is.
It's this moment of, it was always going to happen, but you just have to take the action to release, almost release room for the other part to happen. So, and I wonder what would have happened if I hadn't have given my notice, whether that mortgage would have still been approved. But it doesn't matter now. Irrelevant.
So I think what we're saying is, do you know, if you're in a job and you love that job because you're doing great, just get your money working so you've got choices, because some of the worst teachers are in the job because they've been divorced and they've got 2 mortgages to pay, or they can't find a way out. So, do you know, and they feel trapped.
There's a lot of people that I can remember after I left, and I think I'd been out for a few weeks. I met a colleague, she was still working in the school, out and about in the town, and she saw me and I said, how's it going? She said, I've just given my notice in. I said, wow, that's awesome. She said, you inspired me. She said, I couldn't believe it when you left. And it was like, I'm going to go as well. She said, I'm out now. And she's been out for the same amount of time as me. And I think for me, that was a massive kind of, wow, if I can do it, then anybody can do it. You know, it's just having that belief and that confidence to be able to take that step. So, it's been good.
Yeah, I could talk to you all day. I think it's probably been one of the longest podcasts I've done. So that's probably a really good place to end it.
Yeah.
If you are interested in the Academy, in learning more about Samuel Leeds, getting some mentoring from Ginny and Jer, there's a link in the description. There's 2 links, in fact. One for sort of a webinar with Samuel to find out more about the training he offers. There's also one where you can go to a inner circle, which is one of the local groups, meet some Academy members face to face. You can book to go as a guest to one of those events. So hope you consider that if you've enjoyed this show. Ginny and Jer, thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure, Colin.
It's been amazing to talk to you. It's such a privilege to do the podcast, to get to come and sit down with people like you and all the other guests I've had. So thanks so much.
Appreciate
really
it.
Enjoyed it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
really enjoyed it.
And thank you for watching. See you next time. Thank you for watching. And I really hope you found this episode helpful. If you have, and you haven't already, make sure you click subscribe, give this video a thumbs up, and let us know what you think in the comments so that I can keep bringing you interesting and valuable information through the amazing guests that I am having on the show. Also, as I was saying earlier, more importantly than that, join the mailing list, because YouTube isn't optimized to give you value, it's optimized to distract you. But I think that the content I'm trying to give you is more valuable, and I'm trying to help you build that wealth mindset. So if that is something that interests to you, don't rely on YouTube and Google to notify you. Join the mailing list and you'll just get an email every now and then when there's a new episode available. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.